Hello, this is SJ Talks and Life coming back at you with another video. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Please and thank you. Um, if you're new looking at my video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Even if you're not gonna watch me on a regular basis, just hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the like button. That pushes my algorithm right up there. And share the video because I'm trying to get monetized here. Please and thank you. I noticed that a lot of white people, this video is to, if you guys watch me on a regular basis, you know I keep it 100 on here, right? If you watch me on a regular basis, you know that I keep it 100. I don't sugarcoat. And I tell it like it is. Sometimes people get mad at me for speaking the truth, for stating the obvious and speaking the truth. But oh well. If you watch me on a regular basis, you know I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I cut right to the chase, and I'm gonna tell it like I see. I see what I see, and I'm gonna tell the truth and tell it like it is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, you know. So I'm gonna tell it like it is, and that I do that with my own people. I do that with black people because I'm passionate about the black community. I'm very passionate about the black community. So I like to speak about different issues that's going on in the black community. Um, a lot of the issues that's going on in the black community. I like to speak about that, and you know, people don't always want to hear the truth, but it is what it is. Um, just because you don't want to hear it, don't make it not true. Um, but I want to address this video to um, white people. I noticed that a lot of white people is really ruffling my feathers. Um, I noticed that a lot of white people are saying that there is no racism. White people need to stop. This is one thing that's one thing that white people need to stop saying. Please stop saying that there is no racism. And please do not come in my comment section, because when I talk about racism, which is not really that often, because God forbid if you talk about it too much on here, they might shut you down. But I'm going to talk about it because, well, I'm a black person living in America. So, yeah, it would be unrealistic for me to not talk about it. So, but I noticed that this is something that a lot of white people are saying. A lot of white people are saying there is no racism, and white people need to stop saying that. That really ruffles my feathers because I read on I be on well my web page on my computer is through Microsoft, and they post lots of interesting articles on there, talking about different things, regarding race. And I see a lot of people, white people, coming in on Facebook blogs or on the Microsoft articles. I see a lot of them coming in there saying there is no racism, because I read blogs on Facebook and I read them on Microsoft, and I noticed that a lot of white people are saying that. A lot of them are saying that there is no racism. And I really think that's interesting because, first of all, it really ruffles my feathers when they say that. Because, first of all, if you are not black, If you are not a black person, how can you even speak on racism? If you are not a black person, how can you even speak on racism? If you're not a black person or any other minority in this country, how can you even speak on racism? How can you speak on black racism? I don't understand how they think they know what we are experiencing. How do you know that there is no racism? How do you know that when you are not a black person? You are not black. So, how in the world do you know that there is no racism? And there's this book, I forget, I have it. I'm going to do a book review on it. I'm just going through and marking pages and stuff, but I got a book. It's called White Fragility. It's actually written by a white person. I can't think of the name of the author right now, but it's called White Fragility. I'm going to do a book review of that book on here. Really, really, I highly recommend that everybody read that book, particularly white people. It's called White Fragility. And what they're basically saying in this book is, and it's written by, mind you, it's written by a white person. What they're basically saying is that white people are constantly in denial about racism. She's stating some of the reasons why white people go into denial about racism. She breaks down the reasons as to why a lot of white people are in denial about racism. She breaks down the reasons why white people don't like to talk about racism. And she breaks down the reasons why white people do not like it when black people when black people talk about racism. Because I don't know, hit me up in the comment section. Black men and women, hit me up in that comment section if you've ever tried to educate a white person on racism. Hit me up in that comment section. Please share your stories with me. Black men and black women, black people in general. Let me know, hit me up in that comment section if you've ever tried to have a conversation about racism with a white person, and you ever tried to educate. Me, I've always tried to educate my white co-workers on the job. It never ever went well because they go into this deflection. They go into deflecting. Then I've been called a racist. White people have this nasty habit of when you're a black person, you try to educate them on racism, they have a nasty habit of calling you a racist, when a lot of times they have no idea what racism is. Racism is not talking about, being a racist is not talking about racism. Or racist is a system. First of all, racism is a system. It's a system. This is why it's hard for black people to be racist, because it's a system. A lot of it is a system. It goes a whole lot deeper than not liking someone because of their race. It's a system. Racism is a system, okay? And when we try to educate, in this book, they talk about all that. When we try to educate white people on racism, it's like talking to a brick wall. You ain't gonna get nowhere. And she talks about that in the book, how it could be really frustrating for a black person to try, and I went through those emotions, just being really frustrated, because if I'm in the workplace and you bring up race, I'm gonna want to educate you. First of all, I don't want you bringing up my race. So if I'm in the workplace, I don't work, but right now, but first of all, when I was in the workforce, and when I was on the job, Okay. I did not want white people bringing up race. Okay. I am a human being. I am a human being. Plain and simple. Doesn't matter what race I am a human being. I do not want people bringing up my race or the black race, or shouldn't be bringing up anybody's race in the workplace. And so if race happens to come up in the workplace, I'm going to want to educate you. I'm going to want to do that. And I I usually get deflection when I do try to educate a white person on racism, unless it's an extremely woke white person. Because I have a friend that is white, and she's very, very woke. So I can actually have racial conversations with her because she's very woke. Unless you're talking to a white person that is very woke and they're very aware of the race issues in this country, then you're batting 1,000. It's like beating your head up against a brick wall. You're not going to get anywhere because they go into this deflection, and then they'll go and turn around and call you a racist. Not in all cases, but in some cases they will. Like, how am I a racist for talking about racism? You know? That'd be just like women talking about sexism. That'd be just like women talking about sexism and misogyny, and the men saying, oh, you hate men. You hate men. No, we're just talking about sexism. Sexism is a real issue, right? Misogyny is a real issue. And that's like if a woman is discussing these things, a man going as far as saying, you hate men. No, I don't hate men. Because sometimes they do that. No, I don't hate men. I'm just talking about sexism. It's a real issue. Misogyny is a real issue. Okay. So it's like a deflection. It's like you're deflecting because you don't want to hear it, because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to discuss it. But it's okay for them to bring it up. But they don't want to discuss it. They want to sweep it under the carpet and act like because it's not affecting them, just because something is not affecting you does not mean that it's not happening. It's a lot of things that don't affect me. It's a lot of things that I'm not affected by, but I'm not going to go as far as to say that it's not happening. That'd be just like me telling Asian people saying that, okay, well, we've experienced racism too. And that'd be just like me telling them, y'all don't experience no racism. Like, I'm talking to an Asian person, and this Asian person is saying, yeah, we experienced racism and we have to go through this and that and the other. And that'd be just like me telling them, y'all don't experience no racism. They not racist towards y'all. Now, how do I know that? Am I Asian? I'm not Asian. I don't know what their experiences are. And I believe that every minority in this country have to experience some type of racism. It's just different levels of it. It's different levels of racism. And historically, because of what's happened between black and white people in this country, historically, as far as slavery, Jim Crow, the civil rights revolution, segregation, all the things that throughout history over the last 100 years or 400 years or whatever that's taken place in this country between black and white people. There's a deep history there. And a lot of things are still in place because of those historical things that has happened. There's a lot of racism in the system, a lot of systematic racism. And a lot of people's views have not changed. A lot of people still have these racist views, and she's breaking down some of that in this book. It's very interesting how there's different levels to racism. And people think, white people think because a cross is not being burned in your yard. Uh, people are not calling you the N-word. I'm not calling you the N-word, or you're not being called the N-word, or I'm not calling you the N-word, or I'm not burning a cross in your yard. They think because they're not going to that extreme that they're not racist. What they don't understand is that there's different levels of racism. There's different levels of racism. And that's what they don't understand. And they would not understand it unless they actually sat down and was willing to either read a book or talk to a black person and have, like, and I mentioned in one of my other videos about microaggressions. I experienced that often on years in the workforce. But I did off and on, and I did not realize that there was a term for it. And I think a lot of black people didn't realize there was a term for it. Microaggressions. Microaggressions. A lot of black people experience microaggressions. And I know that for a long time, I didn't even know there was a name for it. And a lot of white people do that, and they don't realize that's what they're doing. So there's different levels to racism. If you feel the need to reference my race in any type of conversation that I'm having with you, and you feel the need to reference my race, to bring up my race somewhere in the conversation, that's a problem. Because especially if I'm in a workplace. Because I did a video a long time ago when I was working at the daycare. I don't know if I'm going to link it up because I don't even know where it's at. I got well over 1,000 videos on here. But it was when I was working at the daycare. Good luck trying to find it. I was talking to one of my coworkers, and she brought up race and was talking about, I can't remember everything she was saying. I actually had to go look at the video myself to find out. It was a few years ago. And I remember sitting there thinking, why is she bringing this up? Well, I don't want to hear this. Why is this necessary? I already figured she was low-key racist anyway. So, it's like we know, white people think they don't give us no credit for having no sense. It's not something that I go around looking for. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. But I see what I see. Okay? If you feel like during the midst of a conversation, if you feel the need to bring up my race, that is a problem. Or talking to any black person, and you feel the need to bring up their race, that is a problem. You're talking to a human being. What difference does it make what race I am? What difference does it make what color I am? I don't do that to white people. I don't make references to their race when I'm talking to them. Okay? There's no need to do that. So I think that's problematic when they do that. And so they do things like that. And then they'll turn around and say there's no racism. That's racist for you to say that there's no racism. You're racist for saying there's no racism. But my thought is that white people need to stop saying that, because you are not walking in our shoes. They said never judge a man unless you've walked a mile in his shoes. Everybody's heard that saying. Never judge a man unless you've walked a mile in their shoes. You have never walked this earth. I was watching this on YouTube. It was on YouTube. It was on one of the talk shows back in the day. I can't remember which one it was. It was on one of the talk shows. I was looking at it here on YouTube. This white guy said that he had black friends or black coworkers, And they were talking about their experiences about racism, and he was like the average white person, would go into denial, deflect, and all that kind of stuff. And then he made a decision to um, take some tanning pills or something. I think he said he took some tanning pills or something. And he said, I decided to be a black man. I decided that I wanted to know for myself if what they were saying was really true about racism. And I wanted to tap into my own biasness. He said he started to question his own biasnesses and stuff. And he admitted I didn't believe it. When they would talk about it, I didn't believe it. So he said I wanted to find out for myself. So he said he took some tanning pills or whatever the situation is that. And he decided to be a black man. I forget how long he said that he did it for, but he said he decided to be a black man, and he said it was a real eye-opener to him. He said that when he would go into stores, they treated him differently. He talked about his whole experience, but I just can't remember what talk show this was. It was on one of the talk shows. But he said that it was a real eye-opener. He said, when I decided to become a black man, and I forget what length of time he said it was, but he said it was a real eye-opener. He said, I learned a lot. And he said that when he would go into stores and stuff like that, people treated him differently. When he would stop to ask for directions, people treated him differently, were more standoffish and stuff. He said they're usually not like that. When I go ask for directions, they're not like that. But when I was a black man, they were more standoffish towards me. And black men really have to experience, because black women, we go through it, but I think we go through it we go through it. That's a whole nother video. Sometimes, yes, we do get followed in the stores, black women, but black men is more, they don't feel as threatened of black women as they feel more threatened from black men. And like I can stop and ask for directions, and the white people I've never had a white person act standoffish towards me for me asking directions. But a black man can ask for directions and they'll be more standoffish, so because they feel more threatened by black men. So I mean, so it's pretty bad for black men in that aspect. They're more suspicious. They're suspicious of us too, but they're more suspicious of black men because they feel more threatened by black men. You feel me? They feel more threatened by black men. And so that's what he was saying, that, he said, when me doing something as simple as asking directions, they was acting like they didn't want to give them to me and all this kind of stuff. And then they was treating me differently in the store and acting like I was going to steal something. And he said it was a real eye-opener. And these this white man and black man, this wasn't on that show. It was I think it was on that, or it was something else I was watching. This black and white man decided to do an experiment, and the white man went into the place and asked for a job application or whatever. Asked where they hiring and for application, and they gave it to him and no problems and everything like that, and even tried to explain different things to him and went up and beyond. And then the white guy came out and sent his black friend in there, same day, same time, and they told the black man that there was no jobs, that they wasn't hiring and they wasn't accepting applications. Yes. So unless you, as a white person, you go out your way to investigate, or unless you really care about you have black friends and you really care about them, and you're really, because you got some white people out here that's really woke. They're really woke. But then you got a lot of white people that's still walking around here in denial. But I'm hearing, like, I'm reading these different blogs and stuff, that these white people are saying, oh, there is no racism. I need you to not speak on my experiences. I need you to not speak on our experiences. Because they had one article on Microsoft where they was talking about why the unemployment rate is always, have been decades, always been high for black people. And then a lot of people came in there, was talking about how black, oh, they were so stereotypical. I don't have the time or the energy to go back and forth with all these people. But some of the stuff they were saying was just crazy. Calling black people lazy and saying we all have attitudes, and saying that all black people have, saying that all black people have attitudes. They were saying, well, if they wouldn't be so lazy. Somebody said if they wasn't, if they would work hard, all they got to do is work hard and come to work and all that stuff. And I came back and I said, I wish it was that easy. I've done all those things. Worked very, very hard. Came to work on time, for the most part. On my P's and Q's. They still turned around and said it worked extremely hard and still turn around and try to say I'm not doing my job. Yeah. Well, then they said all that. I said, I wish it was that simple. I wish it was that easy. So it was some of the things that they were saying in this article. It was like, we got a long ways to go in this country. And every time Microsoft posts an article talking about a racial issue in this country, they're real good about, posting those stuff. Because I went over one of the articles, the myths about racism. I'm a tag that one. I'm a tag that one in this video too, because I got that from Microsoft. Myths about racism that white people don't realize. They came in that comment section making all kind of crazy statements. I'll be reading, I'll be like, we got a long way to go in this country. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of white fragility out there. This is the reason why this person wrote this book. It's a lot of white fragility out there. And it's a lot of denial. But I need for white people to stop saying there's no racism. Because how can you speak on my experiences or any black person there? You can't speak on our experiences because you are not black. You are not black. You are not walking in our shoes. You are not living our life. You have no idea. You have no idea what it's like to be a black person living in America. You have no idea. Our experience is different than your experience in this country. Whether you realize it or not, our experiences are different than yours. Okay? There's things white folks can do. This thing's going to be a little long. There's things that white folks can do that black people can't even do. I kid you not. There's things that y'all can do that we can't do. Okay? That we got to be careful. Like when I go to the grocery store, like I've seen white people pick up something and open it up and start eating. I've seen white people do that before. I don't open nothing until I pay for it. I don't eat anything, or I don't open anything. I don't open up a drink and start drinking it. I don't open up nothing and start eating. I don't do any of that until I pay for it. Until it's paid for. See, because when you black, you got to think about stuff like that. Because they're more suspicious of us. When we go in the store, they're more suspicious of us. My mother tells me this story. I got to tell you, and I'm going to get out of here. My mother tells me this story, but back in the day, she said back in the day, she went to a store and the man just kept following her around. She said the man just kept following me around the store to the point to where she said, I asked him, why you keep following me? She said, I sat down, he sat down. So she said, she asked him, why you keep following me? So she said she come outside. I think she said she come outside or whatever. because it was downtown in my city. And she sat down and stuff. And so she said 2 white guys came out the store and came up to her, and they told her, while they was watching you, we got us a whole lot of stuff. She said, good. Yes. They watch us more. They watch us more. I used to work in retail, and a good loss, they call it loss prevention. I used to work in retail many years, and they call it loss prevention. A good loss prevention detective, they walk around in plain clothes. You think that loss prevention people walk around in regular clothes, okay? So you think they're just another customer, but actually they're watching. What they're doing is walk around and watching. I can spot them out because I used to work in retail, sometimes anyway. But they're plainclothes security people. A good loss, and plus they have cameras in the store. A good loss prevention detective personnel watches everybody in the store. Because one of the things I learned when I worked in retail, I seen white folks stealing. I seen black people stealing, but I seen some white folks stealing too. I seen them dragging some white folks into that office. When you catch you stealing, they take you in that office, in the loss prevention office. I seen them taking white people in that office. So a good loss prevention person watches everybody. They don't just watch a certain race of people. Because guess what? Not all black people steal. Not all black people steal. And so if you're good at your job, you work in loss prevention and you're good at your job, you watch everyone. You don't just watch certain people. Otherwise, you're not doing your job. Because not all black people steal, but they watch us more, because there is a certain percentage of our people that do steal. They watch us more when we go to the store. So there's certain protocols, there's certain things that we don't do when we go to the store that I've seen white people do, but I wouldn't do. I don't open nothing until I pay for it. You know? And that's just one of the many things that we don't do. We got to move differently in this country. When we drive, there was a police officer behind me the other day. And I was racially profiled before. I tell that story. That video was way back in 2016. But my sons have been racially profiled. I was racially profiled once. So I can sometimes get a little nervous. A police officer was behind me. There was times where I was riding dirty. But I'm fully legal now. I ain't riding dirty. I said, oh, what the heck? I'm legal. Why are you nervous, June? You're legal. You ain't riding dirty. But I was a little nervous because that police officer was behind me. So I told my son, I said, well, a police officer was behind me. Because I usually, when a police officer gets behind me, I'll find the nearest corner, whether I'm going that way or not, and I'll flick my blinkers and turn the corner. Because I don't want them behind me. I don't like them behind me. But I said this time, you know what, June, why are you nervous? You're legal. You're driving the speed limit. You're abiding by the driving laws. And you're legal. You're fine. The cop didn't stop me, but he didn't flick me, as they say. But it's the fact that I had to think about that and I was nervous about that speaks volumes. Because that's just something that, one of the many things as black people that we have to think about all the time. That we have to think about. Because they do that in my city, in a lot of cities, but it happens more to black men. It happens, both of my sons have been very vocal about that. Of being just stop for no reason. Just stop for no reason at all. Now, if you're driving around and you don't have no the proper tags on your plate, now, like I said, I'm guilty. I rode dirty before, and I got stopped. But, you know, that's okay. They're stopping you for a legitimate reason. But if everything is legal and everything or whatever on your car, what reason do they have to stop you? You're not speeding. You're not breaking any driving laws. So what reason do they have to stop you? And it happens more to black men than it do to black women. Because it really doesn't. I got racially profiled one time. But it's happened to my sons a lot. Just being stopped for no reason. So it happens to black men a lot more than it happens to black women. It happens to black women, but it happens to black men a lot because, like I said earlier, they feel more threatened by black men. So we got to move differently. We have to move differently in America. Being a black person in America, we got to move differently. Just like that young man that went just looking around, you know, was I guess it was a construction site, or they were fixing up a house or something like that. Just, you know, he was out jogging, just being curious. And he decided to look around, and that's all he was doing. The brother was just looking around. And these two white guys came and they unalived him. Thank God they did convicted. They got convicted. They did get convicted. But they unalived him. You know, just because he was just curious. I love real estate too. But I don't go peeping around on no properties. That's what Zillow's for. And I go on Zillow. If I want to look at it properly, I go on Zillow or Google Maps to look at it. I don't go lurking around anywhere. And so it's those are things as black people that we have to be. The young man that went to the door looking for his siblings, he went to the wrong address. And the man shot him twice. Thank God he survived it. Thank God the young man survived it. So this is what I'm talking about. We gotta move differently. That happened to a black lady too. Her car broke down or something happened, and she went to somebody's house looking for help, and they unalived her. So that's what I'm saying. Whereas a white person, they probably would, oh, no problem, and all, you know what I'm saying? So they're more suspicious of us. More so black men, but black women too. They're more suspicious of us. They always think we're up to no good. So we have to move differently in this country. That's how we have to raise our children. And then to how to move certain ways, and we have to have those conversations with our children that, you know, especially our young black males, how to conduct yourself. If you get stopped by the police, how to conduct yourselves. And I'm so tired of white people saying, if you should comply. I'm so sick of hearing that. Because there were black men that got killed and they were complying, but they still got unalived. Okay? So I'm so sick of hearing that. And so it's like you got to have a conversation with your kids on how to conduct themselves when being stopped by the police. You know, so it's a whole lot different. As a black American, you got to move differently. We have to move differently. We can't move like y'all. There's certain things that y'all can do that we can't do. And white people say, well, what's white privilege? Because that's a whole nother video. What's white privilege? Y'all can do a whole lot of stuff that we can't do. That's white privilege. So that's a whole nother video. But that's what I'm saying, you know. So I would appreciate it if white people would stop saying there's no racism. This country was built and founded on racism. And it's still going on today. Okay? It's still all in our system. A lot of people are still racist. Okay? Still have racist beliefs. And it's all in our system. We got systematic racism. So I really would like it if white people would stop saying that there is no racism. Stop speaking on black people's experiences. You are not black. You are not walking in our shoes. You cannot speak on racism. You cannot say what we're not experiencing. You know, I ruffles my feathers every time a white person says that. It just makes my blood want to boil. You know, it just makes my blood boil. How dare you say such a thing? You know? Stop saying that, white people. Stop saying that. Hit that like, subscribe, and share. Black people, black men and women, please share your experiences in the comment section on trying to educate people, white people, about racism or being profiled or whatever your experiences is as a whatever your experiences is as a black man and black woman in this country. Feel free to share that in my comment section. White people, please do not come in my comment section saying that I'm a racist. I don't want to hear it because, well, you're proving my point. If you say that, you're proving my point. You're deflecting. You have white fragility. You're proving my point. If you come and say that in my comment section, you're only proving my point. Okay? So I keep it 100. So comment, like, subscribe, and share, and notification bell. Until the next video, be blessed.